This is Teresa DeMore, and I'll be presenting on HeatSmart, which you should be able to see on your screens. So what we're looking at is the home page after you have logged in to heatsmart.aerco.com. The makeup of the home page is essentially your home, the welcome information where we have a link to the how-to guide. But right here, how-to guide, this is a link to download the document. However, you can also download it anywhere that this question mark is available. And the how-to guide is basically a step-by-step description of how this website works and what you can do in the configuration menus. So a couple of items here. So configurations, this is where any sizings would be housed. So anything that you've previously worked on would be available in the configurations menu. We also have this create new menu all the way on the right. And create new gives us 3 options. We can create a configuration, we can create a customer or a project. And consider customers and projects to be more like a file folder on your computer. All they're going to do is bucket your configuration. So if you have an engineer that you're working with multiple sizings for different buildings, you can group them all and search them by associating them with a My Customer. Or it could be a single project. For example, a campus might have several renovations spread out over a long period. And in that case, you can also create a project that would house all of those different sizing reports. So any customers or projects that you've created, you can view here. You can also create them right on the home page. It won't take you anywhere else if you create a customer or project. So a My Project, very simple. You create the name. And if you hit save, and I already have created the demo project folder group. So if you hit save right here, that'll drop that into your available projects, and you can assign different items. Now, if you do create new My Customer, you'll get a web form that will pop up right underneath here. And the only real thing that's required is the name, and that can be the bucket that you would fill, say, all of your project engineers you would use as a My Customer. Now, this default markup, that's just a function of this tool having a default that we were not able to pull. So you can just put a 0 in there, and we can go and view created customers or projects from right here. And you can also search on this page. Now, the search applies to the configurations. So you can either search directly from the configurations list by going here and applying the search filters that are available in the configurations list, or by searching any term here. So I've got a lot of things entered under the demo title. So if I search for demo, I will have several configurations to look at. And this is telling me what I'm configuring. And we'll go through these different products because these are the items that you'll be able to configure in this tool. And then this is the name of that item, and if I've assigned a project or customer, and then the serial number. And the serial number is useful because it helps us look things up, especially if, say, we've got a serial number for someone in our project team, and we want to take a look and find that quickly after we've filled our libraries, and we can just look everything up by serial number, and we'll be guaranteed to get exactly what we're looking for. So let's go and look at the features available in the Configurations tab. So I was talking a little bit about the filters, and something here is that you can actually filter by owner. We have the capability to create a work group, which is essentially a team, and that team will allow you to view the configurations of other team members. So here I can view my user, which is the demo user that we're looking at, myself, or another member of my team. Or I can view all of them. And I'm going to go ahead and see what Andrew's been working. So I apply the filter, and now I can see all the information that Andrew's been working on. Or I can jump back to my own user by hitting the reset button, and that'll just set me back up to where the basic configuration for that is. Again, you have the search option, so you can go ahead and do any of the same searches that you would do on the home page. You can also, by clicking that link right there, adjust exactly what you're looking at. So if you have a My Customer assigned, or you want to make sure that you have a status date, and the statuses are going to be these initiated or configured. So for example, this one has been initiated, but I can't look at the final report, so it's not configured. This is a configured document that I can go look at the final report for. This is an edit button, so this allows me to jump in and directly edit any configuration that I've been looking at. And this allows me to, as it shows, copy, move, view the history, or delete a configuration. So copy move is essentially for working with teams. And what that will allow you to do is copy another team member's report into your own library and edit it there. You won't be able to edit someone else's report from your own user, but you can certainly edit a report once it's been copied into your own library. We're going to start by creating a new configuration. And there are 3 different types of configurations that you can work on. The first 2, to your right, add a member and create a team. These are for those work groups. So for example, in your office, if you have a group that's working together on a set of sizing and selection, you create a team for that group, and they can collaborate on one another's work. If you need to add or change team members, you use this add a member. So when I go in and configure this, I'm going to not add a member, but I'm going to say that I need to remove a member. And I don't need to assign a project or customer for that. Those are just available fields for other use. And I can just hit remove here, enter their information, and say, I don't want to work with Andrew Macaluso anymore, so I'm going to remove him from my group. Or say he's left the company. The other thing you could do is say he was just joining, you can add. So this is allowing you to add and remove people from the same collaborative work group. Once you have a collaborative work group, you can view and share those configurations to the next one. So this has now been submitted essentially for review so that our administrative group can create the work group that you've requested. So now we can jump back into the configurations. And let's look at this demo system. So for example, this is a system that I created on the HeatSmart. So if we went to create new in HeatSmart, demo systems is where we would land. So I created the demo system, and this is something that any member of my team could go in and take a look at. They can view it. They wouldn't be able to edit it unless they created a copy themselves. So they wouldn't be able to access this screen unless they had copied and moved it into their own user. Now we are able to do the US customary system and metric system as far as the units. And then we also have the opportunity here, we ask right up front, do you want to earn the guarantee for this project? If the answer is yes, it's going to just give you a little warning, and I'll show you an example of what that looks like. So it'll ask that you provide a project title and a complete address. And this is popping up because I do not have a complete address. If I had filled that in all the way, then I wouldn't have gotten that warning, and it would have just said, okay, you're ready to move along. So I'm going to continue without filling that in, and what's going to happen is it will automatically default back to no until I've given it all of the information that it's looking for. One item that we are always able to do on any screen is view our recent history. And this is also something, so for example, I'm in demo systems right now. I could just jump right back into demo systems, or I could go to this configurations button to get to the same place and see what I'd recently viewed here as well. As far as version history is concerned, we do have this history option. So this is going to let me view any previous changes that were made. And you can print this report out so you can see all of the changes. And it's a very condensed format, but it's telling you exactly what the previous value and the new value were for any input that was changed. The other great feature here on the history view is that you can add a note. What a note allows you to do, and this is something that anyone in your work group can do on a configuration you've been working on. So they can go ahead and look at something and say, oh, you know what, I think maybe this was meant by that, or we need to add some fixtures. But because that user, maybe they're not primary on the report, they can't edit it. So they can leave a note for the owner and just say, oh, well, I think they really wanted just 15% redundancy. And then they submit that note, and that note would be sent as kind of an alert. But you can view and print this at any time, and then you can submit that note. So now, if I received that note, then I can go into my configuration and make those changes. So when we're in the interface, we have this kind of a header, and when you're looking at multiple inputs in a row, that header applies to everything. So select unit of measure, select if you want to earn the degree. Project title, that means project number, and project engineer. So that's going to apply all the way across. You can also enter mechanical room elevation. We do have elevation D rates included in here for the equipment, so that will make a difference. And then the heat source, this is not going to have an impact. But if you're curious about what this is going to be for, it's just got a little help pop up right there for you to look at. And these are available throughout the tool, so you'll be able to grab that help whenever you need it. Now we have right here the first kind of important question is the facility quantity. So on this setup, I've got one facility. And what that means is it's really how many different buckets of sizings do you want to create. So we have a facility level, we have a plant level, and we have an application level. And you can see those right up here. Facility, the plant sits in the facility, and the application sits inside the plant. You can have multiple applications to a plant. A plant you would consider a single mechanical room that's servicing one loop. You can have multiple plants in a facility. For example, if you had two different mechanical rooms in a much larger facility and they were distinct uses, you can size them up differently by setting two different plants. You can also set it up as two different facilities with a single plant each. So it's really just how you want to lay out a building and what makes the most sense in your sizing report. And you can always go back and edit this. So you can edit any saved information. So we have this save button throughout the tool, so I can make as many changes as I like, save it, and leave without completing the report. So we have these help explanations to describe what this is. So this is my, I've chosen my one facility, it's a campus, and there are 3 different plants. And that might mean that I have a central plant that has 3 different distinct uses, or it might mean that I have 3 buildings, each with its own mechanical plant. Or it could also mean I have a single building with 3 different distinct uses or mechanical rooms. So now I have this inputs here to configure my first plant. And if I wanted to, I can roll over the previous information and see what I've entered or link directly to it. That availability is also for any future options. And because I've configured this layout already, we can jump to these saved inputs and look at what information has been configured here. All right, so required inputs or anything in this green. Here I just need to say what are the plant name and input and outlet temperatures. Redundancy is also a required, but this will default to 0 for you, and you can change it to n+1, or you can go up the scale to 100% redundancy. This is a storage system that I've got selected. So when I configured this the first time through, this was set to no, but then I configured a commercial laundry with stratified storage, so it will change this to yes. So anytime you're configuring storage as a solution to one of our subset application types, it'll automatically give you this option as a yes. Moving on to configuring the application. This would be the first of 3 applications, and there's 1 application per each plant. So if you look in your future options on the left, what I'm showing here is that I will eventually have all 3 applications configured, and you'll notice that the central number is what's changing, and that's indicating that I'm in a single facility with 1, 2, 3 plants, but each plant has only 1 application. And you can do multiple applications. So for example, this right here, include multiple applications. Absolutely, you can do up to 10 in a single plant. So in this application type, we include a description of each one from a very high level, and then we dig down and try to explain exactly what the use type that we're talking about for that application is. So anything that's lodging, this is our hotels, motels, etc. So these are now lodging, low occupancy. That would be your much lower occupancy, less used type facility. And your themed resort or convention center style hotel is this lodging high occupancy option. This is a type ahead, so I have housing in here, but if I just want to see what are my other housing options, I can go ahead and do that, and that includes nursing homes and medical housing. So I'm using a 2-hour peak because I have some condominiums that I'm selecting here. It's a very, very nice campus. So now that I've selected those, I can enter the rest of my items here. So each one of these has a very specific meaning. I have additional fixtures, and these are going to be anything that's not in the standard housing fixture list. And those are appearing at the end here. So these are all grayed out defaults that I'm showing, and that is the standard fixture list that you would get out of any ASHRAE or ASPE manual. Then what I have is the additional, so I can go ahead and anything that hasn't already been selected is available in this list for selection. So I can add anything, domestic clothes washer, that's not available. I can do even a larger glass washer, say they have a small bar in this facility and I don't want to add a whole commercial kitchen application to it, for example. I can just add that one glass washer. Another reason why we've blocked the defaults from being adjusted is because it makes it much easier to just hit the tab button and get through entering the values. You also have this option for a custom flow fixture, and that's this first one that you see above the list. So you'll be able to describe what is the purpose of the custom flow and how many GPM that flow takes up. While we have the ability to apply a name to the facility and plant level, we don't have an application name that we can input. So that would just be this system right here is going to be the description of the application. However, if you do have for example, a building that has a single plant and that plant only has one application, you're very easy to just name the plant name as the service for that hot water. So your application type could be your plant name as well if you had a specific name given to you. So now we also have commercial dishwashers. And with commercial dishwashers, the list we're using here is an Energy Star list. So if the model that you have for a particular facility is not in the Energy Star list, then I would recommend using a custom and just putting the model number and the flow given for that application. Otherwise, you can go ahead and hit yes. And if this was a no, we would hide that question of how many dishwasher models. And the reason we're asking for models here instead of how many dishwashers is because if you had 5 dishwashers but 2 different models, then we would only have to select those 2 different models and we can enter the quantity of each when we're configuring the dishwashers. The same situation applies to commercial laundries. As you can see, we're having that same yes-no question with the how many unique machine capacities. So this is how many different wash weights do I have to enter. Finally, we have the volume shower system. And this is that gang type shower system. We're using volume shower because it's a little more descriptive for people who are maybe not familiar with the industry term. We do include in our help a description of what we mean by a volume shower system, and that you should not be including showers. So for example, if I had this shower and tub, now I should take those out because I'm configuring a volume shower system instead of individual shower and tubs. And I need to, that's a warning telling me that I need to put a value in there. I can't just delete and leave it blank. So now we are able to configure our laundry machines, our dishwashers, and here we have just our single model of dishwasher. We're telling it how many racks, the quantity of this model that we have installed, and exactly what model of dishwasher we're using. Now you'll notice that there are these little notations on some of the dishwashers, and this is telling me that instead of number of racks, this dishwasher is calculated into square feet used of washing. So how many square feet of tray pass through this washer, because it's a conveyor type washer. So you can enter, if it's measured in square feet, you can enter the square feet. If it's entered as a total number of racks, you can do that as well. And then there are a few in there with this last little section marker, and that's just a flat rate. So there won't be any calculation in demand. So let me show you what that looks like. So if I change this, then it's automatically going to recalculate the demand. So now I have a different GPM calculated for that equipment. With washing machines, I have 3 different sizing methods. I can do an instantaneous, stratified storage, or accumulator storage. I've selected stratified, and just to give a brief overview, this is what that would look like. It's just a quick layout so people understand the difference between our stratified and accumulator. We also have a similar image for accumulator storage that just explains in the layout how we would set that up. So this should be what everyone's used to for commercial laundry machines, the quantity of machines and how many pounds of wash that machine is capable of. Now, if we, at some point, maybe in the middle of this, we're working with the engineer and he's like, you know what, I think we want to be a little more careful. Let's go back. And what was our redundancy? We were N+1 redundancy. Let's be a little more aggressive on this, and we'll just send it down to 25. So then I can just jump right back to where I was and continue from here. So anything that you've worked through, you can always jump back to and edit live in the tool. So this is my volume shower. So here I've set up 110 as my distribution temperature. So that's what the water temperature coming right out of the faucet will be. The shower head flow rate defaults to 3, but you can change that to any value. And then this is my shower head count. I'm going to change this to 26 to match the value that I deleted before. And then shower duration. So this is typically in a gang style application, I would say 4 to 8 minutes, but we are in condominiums, and maybe we're assuming that everyone's going to get up all together, and we will have all 26 showers operating simultaneously for a little while. So I'm going to say that it's a luxury condominiums. People like to take a nice at least 15 minutes of overlap for all 26 showers. I also have the option for a diversity multiplier, and that's basically saying, okay, if I have 26 showers, are they all operating together, or are half of them operating at that level? I'm going to say most of them are going to be operating at the same time. So the shower use name here, this is just a description. It's not required. You can skip past it. It's just there. So on the report, you can distinguish exactly what that use was. So I'm just going to say these are just the apartment showers. And we'll continue. The next thing is that I have the solutions configured here for the volume shower system. So it gives me the solution in 2 different ways, and these are very distinct. So this is if the entire solution was an instantaneous solution, it would require 48 GPM. The total shower storage is if I was using the storage drawdown to handle the entire shower demand. And then I have this option to either I can go 100% instantaneous demand, or I can shift 100% stored, or be somewhere in the middle. Finally, this screen is the combined storage of the site. So I have a very high shower storage requirement because I'm using 26 showers at 15 minutes. So we're going to use a bit of storage to alleviate some of the load there. And then I have my stratified storage requirement from the laundry. It totals that all up, and it gives me the option, do I want a per heater system, or do I want a single tank for everything? I'm going to say per heater. I'm going to leave my drawdown time at 30 because between the 2 of these, that should be all right. But you can obviously adjust your drawdown time to any amount. And that completes the plant 1 configuration. There was a question about shower storage diversity by building type. No, we don't have a suggested value there. I would say if somebody is giving you a gang shower application and they don't suggest diversity multiplier, you should always use a 1. That would be my suggested diversity for any volume shower sites. Unless they're specifically telling you that, yeah, we have 50 showers, but we only have 28 guys, then you can say, okay, well, we'll put a 50 shower system in there, but we'll call it operating at 50%. So here we have our next building on the campus. I have a different set point because this one does not have any storage. And you will notice if I had configured this one, let's go ahead and put ourselves in a fault situation. So I have storage here. So if I drop my temperatures and I try to jump back to where I was on plant 1.2, it's going to stop me, and it's going to say there's a little warning for safety. You are operating in a storage system, so you should have at least 140 degree water supplied to your system. So you can hit OK and completely ignore this, or go back and go, yeah, you know, I didn't mean to do that. Let me make sure that the system is safe. And then I can just continue right on to where I was configuring the next plant. So now I'm set up for a 30% solution at 40 to 120, and this is going to have no storage. I'm not going to configure any special items because it's a very simple commerce application. So for example, maybe it's a strip mall. We just have a couple of sinks, and that's all we need. The final facility, I've got a restaurant set up, so it will need 140, even though it's a no storage system, because typically a restaurant will have some fixtures that require 140 degree water. So I haven't added any additional fixtures, although maybe we wash our own linens at this restaurant. So let's add a laundry machine. So now what we're looking at is step by step, every system that we configured has its own flow total. So this standard fixture demand, that's going to include all the standard fixtures in application 111 and the 2 additional fixtures. So it will compile anything that has a hot water fixture unit, total it up, run it against our sizing curves, and provide us with this value. So this is our 14.7 GPM that we have to add to all these other applications. So we have the custom fixture, and maybe I don't remember what that was. So I can just go right back here into fixtures, and the first item there is listed as a hose bib at 4 GPM. So I can check that. Now my volume shower demand, my laundry system requirement, and the circulator pump capacity. So this is essentially, these are not going to add together because it's a duplicated item essentially, because you have the demand, right? This is, what do I need? How much hot water do I need for my laundry system? This circulator pump is just listed to remind the system designer that in a stratified system, you're including a circulating pump. So this is not a load the way the rest of these are demands. It's just telling you size a circulator pump for this value. Then we have our dishwasher demand, and finally it totals up all of those items. And here's our very simple totals for summaries 121 and 131 because we only use the standard fixtures given. Now it gives us an option to select the water heaters, and you'll notice that we're given a list of all the innovations and all the AMs. So this is only for gas-fired heating equipment, so you'll see just our gas-fired equipment. And we're sorting this by quantity. So I'm going to say, okay, well, that seems appropriate. 3 Innovation 1350s is good for my solution. And I can move around over here. On this one, my smallest quantity available is 1, but I want to be a little more conservative and make sure that I have 2 pieces of equipment available to me. So I'm selecting the first option under 2, pieces of equipment, and that is the AM 250,000 BTU unit. On the last one, I made the same choice, but I chose the 500 instead of the 399. Show you what that will impact in just a second. So now I have the total system energy that we've configured for each of those 3 solutions. So we have the system energy here, and then we have this excess capacity. And this is literally what is the system excess capacity on this configuration. So it's saying if I had X redundancy, where does that leave me here? So this value is always going to be greater than whatever your redundancy requirement was. So in plant 1, we wanted 25%, but our selection left us at 73.7. Finally, we'll configure the final report, and what you'll notice over here in this tab, this is where the important things are happening. It's building up the report. If it's a very long report, you can hit a notify, and you'll receive just a notification when it's complete that it has built up the report. The system summary is just an image. You can print this as well just by clicking on it. And it's just a quick summary of the plant, each plant, because that's how we're handling mechanical rooms. So each plant will be summarized here by what it was called, what the temperatures and the demands were, and finally the selection report will download for you. And some of you may have it set up for your PDF to load automatically and view them in the browser or to download. So here is a sample report, and I didn't have an address in there, so I do not get a guarantee. If you did get a guarantee, it would appear between these 2 end bars at the bottom of the report. But as you can see, everything that we've put in is reported out. Here's our flow. Our excess capacity numbers are reported. We have a brief summary at the top that tells us what's the facility, its total requirements, and the selection that was made for that facility. We can move down here and we can see on our storage system, we have 640 gallons of storage. And the breakdown of where that storage came from is available here. So we have our volume shower system storage of 516 and our stratified laundry system at 124. So this is a standard report without the guarantee. And we can always jump back in, and we have this edit button here. Or we can go back to our configurations tab and hit the pencil icon to edit. So all I have to do is add the complete address to earn my guarantee. So I'm going to hit continue once so it remembers that information is there. And then as far ahead as I can go is where I'll jump. So you'll notice that I stopped having an option of a link at the application summary. And the reason behind this is that at this point the logic has to rerun every time for those last 3 pages to build the report. So my report's complete. I can download the new one. And I'll see right away on this report that I have a guaranteed system. So it just pops up right at the top that this is a guaranteed system. And then at the end, we include the design guarantee. And just as a last item, we have our help files. And now the help file is, this is that downloadable item, so you can grab it on any page that has the question mark or from the home page. And it walks you through everything about the site. so that will be available everywhere as well. Thank you very much, and have a good afternoon.